Welcome back. This is Tyrell from the Nosebleeds. Just want to say thank you all for watching the NFC East preview. We have four divisions down, four more to go. This is number 5. So after this, we'll have 5 down, 3 more to go. All my notes are done. Just got to write them down on the whiteboard and hit record. This is obviously an old jersey. I've had this jersey for a while. It's the Jarvis Landry jersey. But enough bantering. Let's get into it. Again, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that very, very much. So today we are previewing the NFC South, talking about the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's start with Atlanta. Atlanta didn't make a lot of key offseason moves. They extended Jake Matthews to their blindside tackle to a 2-year deal. They also re-signed Mike Hughes, their defensive back, to a 3-year contract. Then they went out and got Leonard Floyd. They got Morgan Fox. They got Divine Diablo from Las Vegas. And they got Jordan Fuller, safety from Carolina. They was able to poach a player from their division rival. Going on to their key losses, they lost Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle. He went to the Chicago Bears. Eddie Goldman, we talked about him in the NFC East preview. He went another defensive tackle. He went to the Washington Commanders. And then Drew Dalman, center, went to the Chicago Bears. Going on to their draft, they drafted Jalen Walker, a linebacker from the University of Georgia. They went ahead and got James Pierce, edge rusher from the University of Tennessee. Xavier Watts, safety from Notre Dame. Like I said, I love my Notre Dame players. Obviously, everybody knows I'm an Irish fan. People who've been watching so far, my friends, they know I'm an Irish fan. Xavier Watts, at one point, led the nation with interceptions. Is a ball-hawking safety, very good tackler, just a natural on that field, and I think this is a good pickup for the Atlanta Falcons. Then they went ahead and drafted Billy Bowman, another safety from the University of Oklahoma, and Jack Nelson, an offensive tackle from Wisconsin. To me, key games for the Atlanta Falcons is the Minnesota Vikings, the Washington Commanders, the Buffalo Bills, the San Francisco 49ers, the New York Jets, and Seattle Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals. Reason why I put the Arizona Cardinals here, I think actually no, we haven't done the NFC West video yet, but I will put key games for teams that will play each other that I think are at a similar level to each other. I think Atlanta and Arizona are at similar levels. They're kind of on two different sides, though, especially with on the Arizona side, Kyler Murray is supposedly going to be on the hot seat as far as whether they're going to be moving on from him or not. But nonetheless, two young teams that are trying to figure out how to win. But so I think that is a key game. And then obviously Atlanta, Seattle, again, some veterans here. And just, to me, think the same level. With the Atlanta Falcons, like I said, they went 8-9 last year. I forgot to mention that. But they split the division. I think they surprised everybody and beat Buffalo. I do like to put surprise wins sometimes. So they did surprise everybody, beat Buffalo, beat the New England Patriots. They beat the New York Jets, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals to go 8-9 again. Division, obviously split in division, 3 wins, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8-9 is their record for me. Again, just a preview of what I think. These are all flexible, obviously, when we actually get to the game. But depending on how things go, could they fight for a playoff spot? We don't know. I don't really have them fight for a playoff spot based off of my other predictions, but it could come down to a couple of wins. There are teams out there sometimes that surprises everybody and get into the playoffs, especially with Michael Penix being there. Clearly, they're ready to give him the reins, which begs the question of what is going to happen with Kirk Cousins. I expect him to be a trade piece around the trade deadline, if that happens. If that indeed happens, but time will tell with that. And to me, that got to put a little pressure on Michael Penix, because if he doesn't play to the expectations that they are expecting, who knows if the coaching staff will be a quick trigger coaching staff and decide to go in and bring in their highly expensive backup quarterback. but time will tell with that. I think they have a good team to make another play solid. I thought they were, a team that kind of surprised everybody by going 8-9. I think the expectation, at least for me, is for them to go 8-9. And I do just want to say that I do not look at other people's previews and rankings. I don't. This is based off of my own mindset. If somebody has the Atlanta Falcons going better, somebody might have the Atlanta Falcons going better, or any of these teams going better or worse. These are just my predictions. So Atlanta went 8-9 last year. I think they stay at 8-9. 0-win differential. Moving on to the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers had a bit of a busy offseason. They started off by signing their star and their cornerstone defensive cornerback. They extended J.C. Horn to a 4-year contract. I did get this in my personal inbox. Why don't I put the dollar signs to the contracts? Unless it's breaking news, I'm not going to talk about players' money. I know it's out there and everything. That's just me personally. I don't like to really talk about what's going on in other people's pockets, all like that. No matter what they do, how much money they make or how much money they spend, whatever it may be. If it's news, that's a whole different thing. Like if it broke tomorrow that, let's try to think of an example. If it broke tomorrow that Lamar Jackson re-signed a new extension and involved him getting a pay increase, then I might bring it up as a, hey, this is what's going on in the news. But overall, I'm just going to put the years. I'm going to put how many years they signed there, especially for the re-signees. I don't usually do it for anybody they grab from another team, but that's just how I operate. I don't like to really talk about other people's money like that. So they extended J.C. Horn to a 4-year deal. They re-signed Michael Jackson Sr. I know he had a rough childhood. My last name. Pretty sure he had a rough childhood. They probably made fun of him for being related to Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson Sr., defensive back, he signed a 2-year deal. Then they re-signed Adam Thielen. I know that doesn't look much like an M. But they re-signed Adam Thielen to a 1-year deal. Then they went and got Tershawn Wharton, a defensive tackle. They got him from the Kansas City Chiefs. Trayvon Moherk, safety from the Las Vegas Raiders. Christian Roseboom, linebacker from the Los Angeles Rams. And Rico Dowdle, running back from the Dallas Cowboys. Key losses to me for the Carolina Panthers, Jadeveon Clowney. He's not one of those major impact names, but a guy that always keeps a job. He gets a lot of quarterback pressures, a lot of quarterback hits, but doesn't necessarily get the sacks, all like that, like what's expected of him. But nonetheless, Jadeveon Clowney is not, as of this recording, has not returned. Xavier Woods, safety, he went over to Tennessee. We talked about him in the AFC South video. And then Jordan Fuller, affirmation, goes to the Atlanta Falcons. And their draft. They got busy with in their draft. Drafting, I'm just going to call him Tet McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. I remember that being a bit of a surprise pick. I think a lot of people thought they were going to go with Matt Golden, but they decided to go with Tet. They thought he was the better prospect, whatever it may be. They got him from Arizona to add weapons to Bryce Young. Nick Scornton, edge rusher from Texas A&M. Princely, I'm not going to pronounce that last name, edge rusher from Ole Miss. Trevor Etienne, the brother of Travis Etienne, running back from the University of Georgia. Latham Ransom, a safety from Ohio State University. Cam Jackson, defensive tackle from the University of Florida. Mitchell Evans, tight end from Notre Dame, another good pickup by them. I understand why he got drafted in the 7th round. He wasn't one of those more dominant tight ends that the university had over the last, several years, especially like with him having to have to, essentially he came in like right after Myers had left and everything like that. So, but he was still a solid player. And then they drafted Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver from the University of Colorado. Key games for the Carolina Panthers. By the way, they went 5-12 last year. Jacksonville, Arizona, Green Bay. I think Green Bay is a test game. I'd like to see how good they actually are. San Francisco, Los Angeles Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks. Again, San Francisco, Green Bay. Teams that I believe are going to be tests for the Panthers to see how much they develop, especially with these games happening in the middle of the season with Green Bay and San Francisco. I think it's a good test for them to see where they'll be at, depending on what their record is and where they're sitting at, and how good the team has developed, how good Bryce Young has developed. They still did, and they're right on the board, but they re-signed Andy Dalton, so they got that veteran quarterback just in case Bryce Young gets hurt. I don't think they play the flip-flop game anymore with that. I think they just got Andy Dalton there to play as the veteran quarterback that they need for him to be in the quarterback rooms to help him grow and develop. But I think Bryce Young has a good year. I think his late season run last year, where he showed a lot of improvements and flashed the potential a lot of people were looking for, I don't think that was a fluke. I just think he was a bit of a late bloomer, was in a situation that the organization didn't, or at least the coaching staff that they had with him, didn't believe in him. I wouldn't say the organization. Dave Tepper really wanted Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud. And, they made the moves to go get Bryce Young. So I don't think the organization as a whole doesn't believe in him. But I think the coaching staff didn't necessarily believe in him. But I think that changes this year. To me, their wins split division. Beat Arizona, beat Miami, beat the New York Jets, and the San Francisco 49ers for a 7-10 record. I think that's a good spot, especially if Bryce Young improves. They can go 7-10, maybe even 8-9. But I think they split with everybody in the division. They win one against New Orleans, Atlanta, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I just think they're still relatively young. I still think that their team is still not as put together to make a playoff run, or if they get in, it'll be some type of miracle or whatever it may be. So, gonna take a quick breather to flip the board, get a drink of water. Be right back. All right, now moving on to the New Orleans Saints. Went 5-12 last year. Key pieces that they went ahead and did in the offseason. Let's start off with Kellen Moore being their new head coach. Has been highly respected as offensive coordinator between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. One of the more bright, new, young head coaches in this game. Also, if you, it's kind of weird for me, at least, or a lot of people my age, because we remember Kellen Moore being at Boise State, winning a lot of games. Matter of fact, I think he still holds the record for most wins for a college football quarterback. I know he had beaten Colt McCoy's record while he was playing. He played backup for Dallas for about a year or two, and then he transitioned over to their offensive staff and has really worked his way up to be the new head coach of the New Orleans Saints. So congratulations to him. So they went ahead and got a new head coach. They re-signed Chase Young to a 3-year deal. Another guy, disappointing career so far. I think he's had a serviceable career, but you're the second overall pick. You went right after Joe Burrow. A lot of people expected more of you, and this is about the only thing I really checked as far as him. He's on a lot of people's hot seats as far as a guy that is in a make or break deal, which is kind of weird because I saw that before I found out that he signed a 3-year deal, but that doesn't always necessarily mean something. Maybe sign him for 3 years, keep him for a year, and we either cut him or trade him to somewhere else, use him as a trade piece. So, it's just, we'll see how that goes with Chase Young. Then they went ahead and re-signed Jawan James to the tight end to a 3-year deal. He was like their number one tight end there. They re-signed Nathan Shepard, defensive tackle, to a 3-year deal, and then they traded for Devon Gotchik, defensive tackle. They traded with the New England Patriots for that. I think their best acquisition on this board is obviously getting safety Justin Reed from Kansas City. Then they Then they acquired Julian Blackmon, another safety from the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Bullard, a defensive tackle from Minnesota Vikings. Dylan Raduns, or something like that. I'm sorry for butchering your name. But offensive tackle from the Tennessee Titans. And then Brandon Cooks, they got him from the Dallas Cowboys. Moving on to their key losses, they lost Will Harris to the Washington Commanders. Obviously, we know about Derek Carr retiring this year. That is a huge loss for them, especially knowing what their quarterback room is. Say what you want to say about Derek Carr. Derek Carr on one shoulder is better than these 3 quarterbacks in that room. He really is. Spencer Rattler, Jake Haney, or however you pronounce his name, And then you got, I don't even know how to pronounce Tyler's last name. I always forget. We'll get to him when we get to the draft portion. Then announced earlier or late last week, Tyrann Mathieu ended up retiring. They lost Lucas Patrick to the Cincinnati Bengals, and then lost Marquez Scantling to the Seattle Seahawks. Getting to the draft, they drafted Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from the University of Texas. Like I said, I can't pronounce Tyler's last name. I always forget how to pronounce his last name. I've heard his last name a lot of times. I can't pronounce it. But they drafted Tyler from the University of Louisville. I'm going to defend him right here. I know I just said, I don't like their quarterback room. And yes, Derek Carr is better than all three of them. But I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be. I was able to watch him a few times. Especially when he played against Notre Dame. And he had a lot of issues with wide receivers. But he made good throws. He made smart throws. He has good accuracy. He has good touch to the football. And I don't know. I'm not screaming. He's an NFL starter, and he's gonna be a great second round draft pick or whatever it may be. But he got a lot of heat for getting drafted over. Not his fault, but got a lot of heat for getting drafted over Shedeur Sanders. And a lot of people started pulling up some of his bloopers. It's like, dude, every player, every quarterback has bloopers. Every single one. No matter where you come from, every single one. So I think he gets a lot of heat for nothing. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. He probably wins the starting job. I do think in his quarterback room, he's better than all of them. So he's more than likely to win the starting position. But we're going to see when their preseason game comes up. Then they got Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle from the University of Texas. Jonas Sanker, safety from the University of Virginia. Devin Neal, running back from Kansas. Molokai Motavo, probably butchered that like crazy, tight end from UCLA. And Fidel Diggs, edge rusher from Syracuse. I kind of noticed this about my studying too. Syracuse had a good amount of players come out, for a quote-unquote smaller football program. They had as far as notoriety and everything like that. They had a good amount of players come out this year. To me, just three key games for them: Arizona, San Francisco, Seattle. Primarily, historical text with the San Francisco 49ers. Always a good classic rivalry. They were rivals for a while. They split with Atlanta and Carolina. I don't see them beating Tampa. I think they beat San Francisco. Believe it or not, I have San Francisco having a decent record. Believe it or not. San Francisco, Seattle, and then I think Buffalo has that game. Buffalo always has one game. I think I mentioned this in the AFC East. They have one game where they play a bad team and they just crap the bed. I think they do that with the New Orleans Saints. So, yeah. Yep. 5-12 for the New Orleans Saints. No win differential with that. And yeah, that's my prediction on the New Orleans Saints. And then finally moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Baker Bake Show Mayfield. Flip my noteses here. They went ahead and re-signed Chris Godwin to a 3-year deal. That kind of surprised me how long they signed Chris Godwin, but nonetheless signed him to a 3-year deal. They re-signed Anthony Nielsen, edge rusher, to a 2-year deal. Re-signed Levante Davis, linebacker, to a 1-year deal. And then they re-signed Ben Bredesen, offensive guard, for 3 years. His PFF grade was a 56.2, ranked 93rd out of 136 guards in this league. So I think they got him probably because they've got him at a pretty much of a discount deal according to their cap. A guy they probably would easily trade if the price is right, or they got a better guard or a better player at his position. They definitely get rid of him. But I'm surprised they signed him to a 3-year deal, especially when I'm basing this off of PFF. 56 is below average. 60 is average. If you're in the 60 and 70s, between 60 and 70 is average, 70 is above average, and then 80, 90, and then 100. He's below average, but they gave him a 3-year contract, so they clearly saw something that maybe PFF didn't see. Sometimes I question PFF, but overall they're pretty accurate. Then they drafted. I keep saying draft. Then they signed Hassan Reddick, edge rusher from the New York Jets. Everybody knows his history: Jets, Cardinals, Philadelphia. Again, I don't think he has any disputes with his contract this time, and I think he plays very well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then they went ahead and signed Anthony Walker Jr., linebacker from Miami, another serviceable linebacker. Again, not a guy that is superstar mode, but he's serviceable. He makes good tackles, good reads, but yeah, I think he adds a little bit to the defense. They lost Joe Tryon, edge rusher from they lost him to the Cleveland Browns, and KJ Britt, they lost him, linebacker, to the Miami Dolphins. Then they went ahead and said, it's about time for us to start thinking about getting younger at the wide receiver position and getting a guy that can come in and take over from Mike Evans and Emeka Ekbuka. I probably butchered that like crazy. Wide receiver from Ohio State University. Benjamin Morrison, defensive back from Notre Dame. Let me just say this about him. He's a guy that got drafted in the second round. Tore his ACL in the middle of the season last year. And to me, and I'm not saying this off of biasness. It's going to come off as it. I already know. I'm not saying this as a biased point of view. I'm saying this as watching him play. I watched him play a lot. I think he's one of the best defensive backs in this entire draft. I think he's one of the best defensive players in this draft. And Tampa got him for a steal. His draft grade definitely dropped because of his torn ACL. He doesn't tear his ACL, have a very, very good season like he probably would have had. He was having a good season before his ACL injury, and he would have kept on that trajectory. He goes in the first round. He goes in the top 15. That's how good he is. So they really got a steal in Benjamin Morrison. They drafted Jacob Parrish, defensive back from Kansas State University. David Walker, linebacker from Central Arkansas. Elijah Roberts, edge rusher from SMU. And Tez Johnson, wide receiver from Oregon. So clearly they wanted to add some younger weapons. Emeka is there to eventually succeed Mike Evans. And Tez Johnson, they probably just hoping that he develops as a good, strong third or fourth option. Key games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're a good team. They went 10-7 last year, won the NFC South, took over that division. Houston, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Detroit, Buffalo, and the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they sweep the New Orleans Saints, split with Atlanta and Carolina. They beat Houston and a nail biter. They beat the New York Jets, the Seattle Seahawks, the San Francisco 49ers. And now that I'm looking through my notes, I think I got San Francisco going. Yeah, I got San Francisco going 1-3 against the NFC South, excuse me. But yeah, I think Tampa beat San Francisco. They beat New England. They beat Buffalo. I think that's going to be a good game. Very, very good game. I think they're talented enough to beat Buffalo. I think they're talented enough to edge out the Rams. That game can go either or. And the Miami Dolphins. I have them going 12-5 with a +2 win differential. I think Baker Mayfield continues to play at a high level. They got Emeka. They got Mike Evans. They got Chris Godwin. They still got a good defense behind them. Got a solid offensive line. They stay healthy. 12-5. They could be fighting for that 2 seed. And if they beat the Rams, they probably do get that 2 seed over the Los Angeles Rams. So that is the NFC South. Next is going to be the NFC North. I'm still waiting on 2 collabs for the 2 West divisions for both the AFC and the NFC, but it's looking real bleak on the AFC side. Might end up doing the whiteboard for the AFC side as well. But the NFC West side, I got somebody coming along. I think that's going to drop later on this week. Should be dropping the NFC North video later this week. So just want to say thank you all for watching. Thank you all for liking, commenting, sharing. Please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. And our social medias will be coming out soon. Instagram, Blue Sky, X. I still call it Twitter personally, X. And potentially a Facebook group page. Again, this is Tyrell from the Nosebleeds. Thank you all for watching and signing